adding and subtracting fractions. And now today's math joke. In math, fractions speak louder than words. Today's lesson is adding and subtracting fractions. Our objective will be to add and subtract fractions and to solve problems involving fractions. Our Indiana academic standard is 7.2.1. To add or subtract fractions, be sure to have a common denominator first, then add or subtract. We won't be using any models to help us with any of this. We're just going to use our mathematical skills. To add 1/4 and 1/3, we must first find a common denominator of 4 and 3. Remember in class I told you find the larger denominator and start listing its multiples. Our larger denominator is 4. So the multiples of 4 are 4, 3 can't go into it. 8, again 3 can't go into it. 12, 3 does go into it. So 12 is our common denominator. We're going to rewrite each fraction so it has a common denominator of 12. So 1/4, we'd multiply the top and the bottom both by 3, so we end up with 3/12. For 1/3, we're going to multiply the top and the bottom by 4, so we end up with 4/12. So we have 3/12 plus 4/12, which equals 7/12. And that's actually simplified. Now let's look at the subtraction problem. 1/2 minus 1/3. Again, we have to have common denominators. Look at the larger of the two denominators, 3. Can 2 go into 3? No. So we list the next multiple, which is 6. Can 2 go into 6? Yes, it can. So we're going to change both fractions so they have a denominator of 6. 2 times 3 is 6, so we have to multiply 1 times 3. So we end up with 3/6. And then we look at 1/3. 3 times 2 is 6, so we multiply 1 times 2, so we end up with 2/6. So we have 3/6 minus 2/6, which is 1/6. Again, that's simplified, and that's all you have to do for the problem. Pause the video at this time if you need more time to copy down these two examples. For example number 1, we already have common denominators. We have 2/7 plus 3/7. When we add or subtract denominators, once we have that common denominator, that denominator is our answer. Then we add or subtract the numerators. In this first one, 2/7 plus 3/7 would give us 5/7. That answer is already in simplest form, so we don't have to reduce the fraction. For example number 2, we have different denominators. Our denominators are 9 and 6. We're adding 5/9 plus 1/6. So we have to try to find a common denominator for 9 and 6. Remember, I say always find the bigger denominator. It's 9. Can 6 go into it? No, it can't. So then we start listing our multiples of 9. 9 times 2 is 18. Can 6 go into 18? Yes, it can. So that means our denominator is going to be 18. So we had to take 9 times 2 to get 18, so we're going to take 5 times 2 to get 10. For the 1/6 fraction, we took 6 times 3 to get 18, so we're going to take 1 times 3 to get 3. So we have 10/18 plus 3/18, which gives us 13/18. Once again, this fraction is simplified and can't be reduced in any way. Pause the video at this time if you need more time to finish the notes. Now we're going to take a look at a story problem. For example number 3. A carpenter begins with a board that is 3/4 inches thick. She removes 1/16 from its thickness. How thick is the board now? Mathematically, we're going to take 3/4 minus 1/16. Again, we have to start by finding common denominators. So let's look at the larger denominator, 16. Can 4 go into 16? Yes, it can. So this is going to make the problem a whole lot easier. We're going to take and figure out how many times what you multiply 4 by to get 16. Well, 4 times 4 is 16. So then we have to multiply 3 times 4 to get 12. So we have 12/16 minus 1/16. 12/16 minus 1/16 is 11/16. Again, we lucked out because that's simplified and can't be reduced. So the board is now 11/16 inches thick. I want to remind you, if you need to pause the video, do so you can finish the problem. Don't forget, you have to have a question written down that we can discuss tomorrow in class. I want you to try quick check number 1, letters A, B, and C on your own. Pause the video, work them, then start the video to check your answers. Number 1A is 4/5 because 3/5 plus 1/5 is 4/5. Number 1B, 13/16 minus 9/16 is 4/16. But we can't leave it 4/16. We must simplify to 1/4. If you forgot to simplify, fix your problem and realize that on the homework over this, it would be counted wrong. Letter C is 1/4 plus 3/4, which equals 4/4. Again, this can be simplified to 1 whole. If you would forget to simplify in your homework, they would be counted wrong. Now I want you to try quick check 2A, 2B, and number 3 on your own. Pause the video. When you're finished working them, start the video again to check your work. For 2A, we have 3/4 minus 1/6. We have to have a common denominator. It ends up being 12. So 4 times 3 is 12. 3 times 3 is 9. For 1/6, to change it to a common denominator of 12, we're going to multiply by 2. 6 times 2 is 12, so 1 times 2 is 12. We end up having 9/12 minus 2/12, which is 7/12. That's simplified in lowest terms. For part B, we have 3/7 plus 5/14. The common denominator is 14. For the top fraction, we're going to multiply the numerator and denominator by 2. 3 times 2 is 6/14. Then we're going to, we won't have to change the bottom denominator of 5/14. So we have 6/14 plus 5/14, which is 11/14. And finally, for number 3, you hiked 5/8 mile and 1/4 mile in the afternoon. How far did you hike? We're going to add those two fractions. 5/8 plus 1/4. 5/8 we're not going to have to change because our common denominator is 8. 1/4 though becomes 2/8 because 4 times 2 is 8 and 1 times 2 is 2. So we have 5/8 plus 2/8. Add those two together and you get 7/8. You hiked 7/8 of a mile. I want to remind you, if you need to pause the video, do so you can finish the problem. Don't forget, you have to have a question written down that we can discuss tomorrow in class.